Alright, today we're going to be covering 1 and 2 step equations, something that you did in 8th grade, just a little review for you to make sure you remember what to do. So remember that equations are all about balance and keeping things equal. So if you do something to one side of the equation, you have to do it to the other side. So remember that our goal is we have an unknown here, and we want to get the unknown by itself on one side of the equal sign and get all the other constants over on the other side so that we can find out what the value of that variable is. We want to know what that is equal to. So right now we have m is added to 12. So to get rid of this 12, to move it to the other side, we need to use the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 12 from this side. 12 minus 12 is 0. Then we did it to the left side of the equal sign, so we're going to go to the other side of the equal sign and we're going to do it as well. So we're going to subtract 12. 10 minus 12 is negative 2. The m is still out here. M plus 0 is equal to negative 2. Now this 0 doesn't really do us any good here, so we're going to go ahead and drop it and just leave it as m is equal to negative 2. Okay, and that's the solution. And we know that that's right because we can check our answer. And what we do is we take that negative 2, and just like we did with evaluating expressions earlier in the week, we do negative 2, we plug it in, negative 2 plus 12 is equal to 10, and we check it. Does negative 2 plus 12 equal 10? And it does, so we know that we did that correctly. Okay? So take a look at the second example. Here we have negative 7 being multiplied by y. Okay, remember that a coefficient and a variable together is really a multiplication problem. So negative 7 times y is equal to negative 91. I need to get y by itself, so I'm going to have to do the opposite of that multiplication. So I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide by negative 7. And here I'm going to divide by negative 7. Okay? So when I do negative 7 divided by negative 7, I get 1. Y is equal to, let's see, negative 91 divided by negative 7 is going to be 13. Okay? Now, when we have 1y, remember that a lot of times it's not necessary to write that because it's understood to be there, so we can rewrite it as just y is equal to 13. And we need to check ourselves to make sure that that works. So we have negative 7 multiplied by 13 is equal to negative 91. Is negative 7 times 13 negative 91? If you check it with your calculator, it is. So we know that that's the correct value. Okay, so that's one-step equations. Over here, if you have subtraction, that means you're going to add it to both sides. Over here, if you have division, that means you're going to multiply. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing on those. All right, now what happens when we come across a fraction? Okay, now we've dealt with fractions before, and when we talk about getting rid of a fraction, what we're talking about is the inverse property. And remember, when we talked about the inverse property, we have a reciprocal. Okay, we have to multiply by the reciprocal. And if you remember, reciprocal means to flip the fraction. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the reciprocal. So here I have 2/3 times x. So I'm multiplying this 2/3, all right? So what I really need to do is divide this by 2/3 and divide this by 2/3. But if you remember, in order to divide something by a fraction, you have to flip it and multiply. So that's why we can skip that and just multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2, and the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. So we did it on this side, we're going to do it over here. So here, if I multiply this across, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6, and that is equal to 10 times 3 is 30, 2 times 1, remember any whole number is over 1, is 2. Okay, now 6 divided by 6, anything divided by 6 is 1. And remember, we don't have to write that 1x, we can just write it as x. And 30 divided by 2 is 15. Okay, and so we can check our answer. We can do 2/3, plug in the case of x, we'll do 15, and we'll write it as 15 over 1 is equal to 10. And we check ourselves. 2 times 15 is 30. 3 times 1 is 3. 30 divided by 3 is 10, and that's what we wanted, so that works. Okay? Okay, let's look at one more example. Let's look over here. All right, we have a negative 6/5, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of that. We're going to flip it and multiply. So I'm going to multiply by negative 5 over 6, and because I did it on the left side, I'm going to do it to the right side. Okay? So what I get here is a negative 5 times a negative 6 is a positive 30, and 6 times 5 is a 30. And then over here, negative 5 times 12 is negative 60, and 6 times that 1 is 6. Okay? So 30 divided by 30 is 1. 1k we can just write as k. Negative 60 divided by 6 is negative 10. So let's check our answer. Negative 6 over 5, and then we're going to do negative 10 over 1 should be equal to 12. So negative 6 times negative 10 is 60, and 5 times 1 is 5. And then we check, is 60 divided by 5 12? And we find out that it is. So k is equal to negative 10. Okay, so this should be pretty familiar to you. You should have seen it before. Okay, so those are one-step equations. I want you to practice with the right side for problems, just like the ones that are beside it. Just keep doing that. And then we're going to talk about two-step equations in the next video.